What's up, Call of Duty fans? Welcome back. IHOLDSHIFT giving you the recap from day number 1 of CWL Week 7, the interdivisional play happening in Division A. Only 2 matches to go over today. We'll skip the standings because those 2 matches don't have too much of an impact on who goes where. But we had some good ones, at least that we thought they would be in the very start of the broadcast. UIU going up against FaZe Clan first, and UIU, of course, with the new addition of moving Zaptius to the starting roster, all eyes were on him, and he did absolutely show up in the first couple of seconds of the first hardpoint on Hacienda, finding himself 7 straight, getting himself streaks. Things looked to be going pretty good for UIU up until rotations became the name of the game, where FaZe Clan would not be turned aside, winning a lot of isolated gunfights that were very key when it come to stringing together hardpoints. And FaZe Clan would start to run away with this one pretty quickly, having found a 250 to 145 on the hardpoint, a 6-1 on the search and destroy, and then a 3-1 on the control. UIU just did not look like they were ready to play today, honestly. And FaZe Clan, yes, they looked better, but can we definitively say that this is a top 8 team based on this performance? Not quite yet. Definitely not quite yet. But for UIU, you need somebody else to help out Barzillion. You know, my biggest thing was not the fact that it's just the front line that's being bad. It's the fact that Mayhem and Methods have also been relatively quiet since the Fort Worth run that they went on. So, does this change from Proto to Zaptius make you feel better about the squad? I can't see any reason why anyone would say yes, because it's not decisive enough. He's not a game changer. He's not a big playmaker like Decimate has been since he recently got in, or Simp. He's not along those same lines of caliber. So this is a move, but it doesn't really merit you much positivity or progress compared to what you had previously. So for UIU, back to the drawing board. They need to start waking up, though. When it was Mayhem, Methods, and Barzillion, it allowed Proto at the time to essentially go free and do either great things or not so great things, and they could still pick up the pieces. That's been not the case lately because Mayhem and Methods have not been playing all that well lately. They've been playing okay, but not the all-star standards that we need them to if you want this UIU team to do well. Then we would jump into Optic and Gen.G, and this one looked really, really solid off the start. I was really actually kind of star-stunned when it came to the playlist that we had for the game, the map mode combinations, because a lot of the map pool favored that of Gen.G. The first 3 in specific, I was like, Optic, how did you let this happen? It did not look good for them, and that's exactly how the start of the match would go. Not good for them. It was hardpoint being pretty decidedly controlled by Gen.G, able to find a number of streaks as they were moving through that first map, and then the search and destroy was pretty dominant until we got to the control on Arsenal, where Gen.G was a couple of moments away from finding themselves a 3-0 a number of times. It came down to round 4. They were up 9-3 in lives on the attack, and they ended up popping like a Tempest sometime around there, and they just overinvested specialists in round 4 to send it to a round 5, where Optic with the specialists would end up winning. Go figure. So Optic start to put in together a little bit of a comeback. They would start off on hardpoint frequency, and Scump would find 10 straight. Goodness, he looked like a madman through the first part of this frequency hardpoint after having a very slow start. Gen.G never quite able to get back in the running after streaks were earned and early specialists were coming out. So we would go to map 5 for Optic, looking to make the reverse sweep happen. Gen.G trying to avoid embarrassment again in reverse sweep fashion. It would be a lot of back and forth. It looked good for Gen.G on the first round. Optic was able to put together a handful of rounds themselves. And then Gen.G would start to make a little bit of a comeback, but it wasn't enough. Optic complete the reverse sweep at a 6-4 on the search and destroy. And if you're Gen.G, you got to be feeling pretty ticked about how that one happened. Again, you hear very often that if you're going to lose a map, you'd rather lose it convincingly than in a close fashion, because the close ones can really stick with you. And it kind of felt like that was the case again for Gen.G. That needs to change. That mentality needs to change. This is very much so a team that could be competing at the top, but if they keep throwing away these games that should be done in 3 or 4, well, you can't let that happen. Now, granted, Optic has always been able to find a way to get themselves back into the running. They very rarely get completely blown out, and when they start off going down 0-2, they typically find a way to at least make the scoreline respectable, if not reverse sweep. So for Optic fans, that's something that you would like to just see not be happening at all. Just come out stronger at the start. But at least for the Green Wall, they're able to find themselves a reverse sweep and a big crucial win that would put them into 2nd place in the standings in Division A. Let's go over the matches for tomorrow, though. We'll start the day off with UIU again, this time going up against Evil Geniuses. Gen.G will be playing up against Midnight, a much easier opponent there for them. Optic should still have a little bit of a test here versus Reciprocity, and then we've got a rematch of the refs. FaZe Clan going up against Luminosity for that grudge match that we'll see at the end of the day. So let's talk about EG and UIU first and foremost. Taking a look at this team, or these teams in specific, they played each other once before. Granted, that was eons ago, so you really can't talk too much about the stat lines that are there, but it was a 3-1 that time for UIU. That was, again, ages ago. But for me, it comes down to, if Methods and Mayhem show up, we've got ourselves a good game on hand, mostly because of the fact that it's been such a drastic look for Evil Geniuses. You take a look at their card, they're 3-16 in the win-loss, 23-51, but I want to hit on what they have not been doing well in the modes. They're 2-17 in control after going 0-4 at London, not getting a single point in their favor during their 4 control maps. That's atrocious. And they're going to have to be working very difficultly and very hard to make sure that that is going to be a change coming into this week. That being said, they're only 4-4 from London in the hardpoint and 3-2 in the search and destroy, where either they won by a hefty margin or lost by a hefty margin in the search and destroy. Kind of the same storyline here and there with the hardpoint as well. Most of their wins were very close wins, and their losses were a little bit steeper. So, is there opportunity for UIU to take down Evil Geniuses? I think absolutely yes. Unfortunately for you bettors out there, there's really not that much of a favorable line. You might want to throw a couple shekels to UIU to be the outright winner, simply because they are going at plus 200 right now. I might throw a little bit there, but I see Evil Geniuses still taking this set 3-2. It simply comes down to the fact that I think Evil Geniuses is going to have a more veteran experience and more team coordination. It could be a close set, though, so don't sleep on this one. We very well could see this one going to 5 or potentially going to the upset of UIU, where, again, UIU has a slight advantage in the control because EG has been absolutely atrocious at control. Fast forwarding to Gen.G taking on Midnight, and this has to be where everything gets thrown at Midnight if you're Gen.G. You cannot let this one go more than 3. This has been a very interesting matchup between these two teams. They only played each other once, and that was way back in week number 2, where it was a 3-1 for Midnight, but that was a totally different roster. We'll likely be seeing frequency and Seaside on the hardpoint. We'll probably be seeing some payload on the search and destroy. And then, well, for the side of Midnight, they've really only played this new roster almost exclusively Arsenal control. So we'll probably see that one as well, unless it gets vetoed. But this team has been just okay, this Midnight squad. 3-7 in hardpoint, not good. Minus 60 in the differential, not good. They are 4-3 in the search and 3-2 after. These are all London stats in the control. So that's not bad. But again, their wins have been narrow wins, and their losses in search and destroy have been big losses. So this Midnight team worries me a little bit. Again, they're going to be playing with a different roster since Saints will be around. We anticipate he will be the one starting. I've got this one going to Gen.G at a 3-0 scoreline. This is definitely a safe bet, I would say, to bet on Gen.G if you're doing it as part of a parlay or a doubles bet or anything like that. So definitely be betting on Gen.G for this one. I can't see Midnight covering their spread either. Going fast forward over to Optic and Reciprocity. This is going to be an interesting kind of grudge match here. They've played each other 3 times previously. Optic holds the edge at a 2-1 set score. 8-4 have been the maps so far. In hardpoint, Optic has been the decisively better team, sitting at a 4-1 record there. In search and destroy, Reciprocity has been the decidedly better team at a 3-1 stat line there. And then Reciprocity not being a very great control team, Optic holds the edge there at 3-0. I would say that all the hardpoint maps are probably on the table. My biggest question mark just comes down to which Reciprocity are we going to see in search and destroy? They went 11-5 in search at Fort Worth. And then you go back to London, where they were 1-5. In fact, during the cross-divisional, they only won 1 search and destroy there, too. They were 1-4 in the cross-divisional and search and destroy. So total, over the last 10 matches they've played, or pardon me, I guess 11 matches, they're 2-9 in search and destroy since they left Fort Worth. That's not good at all, and who knows what changed here. They have been decidedly a little bit better at control, but my biggest worry comes down to this team and their hardpoint. Only 4-7. Optic has looked pretty clean and polished. Even in the loss to Gen.G in the first hardpoint, they still stuck in because they were fighting up against a lot of score streaks on Hacienda. But this time around, it looks like it should go the way of Optic. I've got them winning this set 3-1. Again, a pretty safe bet here. I don't see Reciprocity covering the spread, and I think you're probably safe to bet the spread here for Optic if you're looking at it from that perspective. Going over to FaZe Clan and Luminosity, taking a look at these guys as, again, this will be a little bit of a rematch. You'll see the stat lines pop up, but you can throw those away and just talk about the recency matchup, which happened, again, at London. You got to remember, FaZe was able to take both of the hard points rather convincingly, but did lose both the Search and Destroys, the Luminosity, and then, of course, we know what happened on the Control going to 5 when it really should not have been in favor of Luminosity. It was. But you got to remember we learned some things here from what happened at London. My biggest question mark becomes, is LG going to play as poorly as they did at London here at a lower friendly location in Columbus, where there's not going to be, again, all of the heinous shouting and things like that? The biggest thing about this, even though LG won both searches and FaZe won both hardpoints, FaZe has been the considerably better control team since the changes have been made to this squad. They looked very, very good at London. They should have been technically 5-1. They go 4-2 with the changes, and that's actually really impressive considering how many changes they made to that roster. With that in mind, I'm thinking 3-1 FaZe here. You're definitely probably safe to bet on the FaZe Clan line. They are the underdog right now on the bets, so if you're out there, definitely throw a couple of dollars towards them being the match winner, if not just covering the spread if you want to play it safe. But the spread lines really aren't that great to bet on, to be honest. So I've got that one going 3-1 to FaZe. That's all we got for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the little recap. Of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not yet subscribed but you like this style of content to give you quick recaps and, of course, more betting breakdowns and predictions and things of that nature, make sure you hit the subscription button and ring the bell on your way out to get notifications when my next video will pop live. You should be expecting that one every single day, recapping all of the regular season days and beyond with extra news posts and things of that nature. But until next time, hope you guys keep holding it down. So long.